He was sitting across from her at a table in one of the most expensive restaurants in the city, and he was watching her realize something that would change everything. His name was Alexander Grant, and he was 54 years old, and he had spent the last 3 months carefully orchestrating this exact moment. She was named Jennifer Martinez, and she was 32 years old, and she had spent the last 3 months believing that she had made the right choice. But before we tell you what the choice was, I need to tell you why you clicked on this video. I need to tell you what brought you here, because your fear, your desperate need to know if you made the right choice, is the reason you're watching this right now. You clicked on this because you've made a major life decision and you're wondering if it was correct. You clicked on this because you know what it feels like to stand at a crossroads and choose a path, and then spend months second-guessing yourself. You clicked on this because you've wondered, what if I chose wrong? What if the other option was actually the right one? You clicked on this because you've been in a situation where someone knew something about you that you didn't know about yourself. You clicked on this because you've experienced the terror of realizing that you might have misread someone completely. You clicked on this because you want to know, can you ever truly know another person? Can you ever truly know yourself? This story is about a choice. This story is about the moment when you realize that the choice you made wasn't just wrong. It was a catastrophic mistake. This story is about what happens when someone who understands you better than you understand yourself decides to show you exactly what you've lost. Let's begin. Jennifer Martinez had been dating 2 men. She had been dating them simultaneously for 3 months. She knew that this was morally wrong. She knew that this was unfair to both of them. But Jennifer had been unable to choose, so she had simply continued in this state of limbo. Seeing both men, sleeping with both men, telling both men that she was figuring things out. The first man was named David. David was 34 years old. David was a nice man. David worked as a software engineer. David was stable and kind and wanted to marry Jennifer. David wanted to have children with Jennifer. David wanted a traditional life with Jennifer. But David was also boring. David was predictable. David wanted Jennifer to fit into a mold that was predetermined. David wanted Jennifer to be a certain kind of woman, the kind of woman who wanted the same things that David wanted. The second man was named Alexander Grant. Alexander was 54 years old. Alexander was a billionaire. Alexander owned investment firms and real estate empires and technology companies. Alexander was powerful and intelligent and had been divorced 3 times. Alexander did not want to marry Jennifer. Alexander did not want to have children with Jennifer. Alexander simply wanted to spend time with Jennifer and enjoy her company. But Alexander was also dangerous. Alexander was unpredictable. Alexander made Jennifer feel alive in a way that David never had. Alexander challenged Jennifer. Alexander made her feel like she could be anyone, do anything, become anything. For 3 months, Jennifer had continued seeing both men. For 3 months, she had told David that she needed time. For 3 months, she had told Alexander that she was complicated. For 3 months, she had lived in a state of suspended reality, never committing to either man, never making a real choice. But then David had demanded an answer. David had said, "Jennifer, I love you. I want to marry you. I want to build a life with you. But I can't wait forever. I need to know, do you want that too? Do you want to marry me?" And Jennifer had made a choice. Jennifer had chosen David. She had chosen the safe option. She had chosen the predictable option. She had chosen the man who wanted to marry her and have children with her and build a traditional life with her. She had rejected Alexander. She had told Alexander, "I'm sorry. I'm choosing David. I'm choosing stability. I'm choosing a normal life." Alexander had smiled. Alexander had said, "Of course you are." And then Alexander had disappeared. Alexander had not called. Alexander had not texted. Alexander had not reached out. For 3 months, Jennifer had heard nothing from Alexander. Jennifer had convinced herself that she had made the right choice. Jennifer had convinced herself that choosing David was the mature decision. Jennifer had convinced herself that Alexander was dangerous and that she was lucky to escape him. But deep down, Jennifer knew the truth. Deep down, Jennifer knew that she had chosen wrong. Deep down, Jennifer knew that she had chosen comfort over passion, safety over authenticity, David over Alexander. Then came the text message. The text message was from Alexander. The text message said, "Dinner. Friday. 8 p.m. The restaurant where we first met. Come alone." Jennifer's heart stopped. Jennifer had not heard from Alexander in 3 months. Jennifer had thought that Alexander had moved on. Jennifer had thought that Alexander had forgotten about her. But Alexander had not forgotten. Alexander had been waiting. Jennifer told David that she had to work late on Friday. Jennifer lied. Jennifer went to the restaurant where she and Alexander had first met. Jennifer walked in expecting to see Alexander looking devastated or angry or heartbroken. Instead, she found him swirling a glass of wine, calm and quietly amused. Alexander stood up when Jennifer arrived. Alexander pulled out her chair. Alexander ordered wine for both of them without asking what she wanted. Alexander was courteous and attentive and completely composed. Jennifer was nervous. Jennifer didn't know why Alexander had asked her to dinner. Jennifer didn't know what he wanted. "You look well," Alexander said. "Marriage planning going well?" Jennifer's face flushed. Jennifer had not told Alexander about her engagement to David. Jennifer realized that Alexander had been keeping tabs on her. Alexander knew about the engagement. Yes, Jennifer said. "David and I are planning to get married next year." "Congratulations," Alexander said. He swirled his wine. He looked at her over the rim of the glass. "Tell me, Jennifer, are you happy?" Jennifer started to say yes, but Alexander held up his hand. "Don't lie to me," Alexander said. "Not now. Not after everything. Tell me the truth. Are you happy?" Jennifer wanted to say yes. Jennifer wanted to tell Alexander that she had made the right choice, that she was thrilled with David, that she had never been happier. But the words wouldn't come. Jennifer started. "Yes, I think so. I'm building a good life." "You're not answering my question," Alexander said. He swirled his wine slowly. "I asked if you are happy. Not if you are building something. Not if you have potential. Are you right now happy?" Jennifer was silent. "That's what I thought," Alexander said. He leaned back in his chair. He studied her face carefully. "Do you want to know what I've been doing for the past 3 months?" "What?" Jennifer asked. "I've been thinking about you," Alexander said. "I've been thinking about the choice you made. I've been thinking about why you made it. And I've come to some conclusions." Alexander set down his wine glass. Alexander leaned forward. "You chose David because you were afraid," Alexander said. "You chose David because choosing me felt too risky. You chose David because David represents safety and predictability and everything that you were taught a woman should want. But you didn't choose David because you love him. You didn't choose David because he makes you happy. You chose David because you were terrified." Jennifer wanted to protest. Jennifer wanted to tell Alexander that he was wrong. But she couldn't. Because he wasn't wrong. He was describing exactly why she had made the choice. "The mistake wasn't the date," Alexander said. "The date was fine. The mistake was the choice. You chose wrong, Jennifer. And now you're going to spend the rest of your life knowing that you chose wrong." Jennifer felt tears forming. Jennifer felt something breaking inside her. "Why did you ask me here?" Jennifer asked. "Because I wanted to see your face," Alexander said. "When you realized the truth. I wanted to watch you understand that you made a catastrophic mistake. I wanted to show you exactly what you gave up." Alexander pulled out his phone. Alexander showed Jennifer photos. The photos were of places they had been together. The photos were of experiences they had shared. The photos were of a life that could have been. A life of travel and adventure and passion and authenticity. "This could have been your life," Alexander said. "You could have been the woman who chose herself. You could have been the woman who chose passion over safety. You could have been the woman who chose authenticity over convention. But instead you chose David. And now you're going to marry him and have his children and live his life instead of your own." Jennifer was crying now. Jennifer understood in that moment that Alexander was right. Jennifer understood that she had made a catastrophic mistake. Jennifer understood that she had chosen wrong. Jennifer went home to David. Jennifer went through the motions of engagement. Jennifer planned the wedding. But something had changed inside her. Something had broken. Every time David touched her, she thought about Alexander. Every time David talked about their future, she thought about the life she could have had with Alexander. Every time David said he loved her, she heard Alexander's voice saying, "You chose wrong." Jennifer became depressed. Jennifer lost weight. Jennifer stopped smiling. Jennifer felt like she was living someone else's life. David noticed. David asked if something was wrong. Jennifer said that she was just stressed about the wedding. But that wasn't the truth. The truth was that Jennifer was mourning a life that she had never lived. 2 months before the wedding, Jennifer did something that shocked her. Jennifer reached out to Alexander. Jennifer texted, "I need to see you." Alexander responded immediately, "I know." They met at a hotel. They didn't say much. They simply looked at each other, and Jennifer understood in that moment that Alexander had known all along that this would happen. Alexander had known that Jennifer would come back to him. Alexander had orchestrated this entire situation to prove a point, that Jennifer had made the wrong choice, and that she would eventually realize it. "Why did you do this?" Jennifer asked. "Why did you set me up just to prove that I made a mistake?" "Because you needed to know," Alexander said. "Because sometimes people need to see exactly what they've lost in order to understand what they've done. Because you chose wrong, and you needed to understand the full weight of that choice." Jennifer looked at Alexander. Jennifer understood that she was in love with him. Jennifer understood that she had always been in love with him. Jennifer understood that choosing David had been a catastrophic mistake. But she also understood something else. She understood that Alexander had manipulated her. She understood that Alexander had set out to prove her wrong, to make her suffer, to show her that her choice was a mistake. Jennifer realized that Alexander wasn't offering her love. Alexander was offering her cruelty disguised as truth. Jennifer canceled the wedding 3 weeks before the scheduled date. Jennifer called David on a Tuesday evening. Jennifer's voice was shaking as she told him the truth, that she was in love with someone else, that she had made a terrible mistake, that she couldn't marry him. David was devastated. David didn't argue. David didn't try to convince her to stay. David simply listened as Jennifer explained that she had met someone 3 months ago and that she had been seeing him while simultaneously planning a wedding to David. David cried, not angry tears but tears of genuine heartbreak. David had believed that Jennifer loved him. David had believed that they had a future together. David had believed that the life they were building was real. "Who is it?" David asked, though he probably already knew the answer. "It's Alexander," Jennifer said quietly. "The man I was seeing before. The one I said I was choosing you over." David's voice broke. "Are you going to be with him?" "I don't know," Jennifer said. "But I know I can't marry you. I know that wouldn't be fair to you. I know that you deserve someone who is absolutely certain about you, and I'm not that person." After Jennifer hung up with David, she sat in her apartment and she cried. She cried because she felt guilty. She cried because she knew she was hurting David. She cried because she was terrified of what came next. But underneath the guilt and the fear, there was also relief. There was also the feeling that she had made the right decision, even though it was the hardest decision. Jennifer then went to Alexander. Jennifer found him at the same restaurant where they had met for dinner. Jennifer told him that she had broken the engagement. Jennifer told him that she was choosing him. Jennifer told him that she was choosing passion over safety, authenticity over convention, him over David. And Alexander smiled. Alexander took her hand. Alexander said, "Welcome back." But in that moment, Jennifer felt something shift. Jennifer realized, with a clarity that was both liberating and terrifying, that choosing Alexander now felt completely different than she had imagined it would feel. When Jennifer had been with David, When Jennifer had been planning a future with David, she had fantasized about being with Alexander. She had imagined that if she could only choose Alexander, her life would suddenly be perfect. She had imagined that Alexander would see her, truly see her, and that they would build something beautiful together. But now that she was actually standing in front of Alexander, now that she was actually choosing him, Jennifer realized that she wasn't choosing Alexander out of love. Jennifer was choosing Alexander out of fear. Jennifer was choosing Alexander because she was terrified of making another mistake. Jennifer was choosing Alexander because she had come to believe that Alexander was right, that she had chosen wrong with David, and that if she didn't choose Alexander now, she would spend the rest of her life regretting it. Jennifer had simply replaced one form of fear with another. Jennifer moved in with Alexander. Jennifer tried to build a life with him. But from the very first day, something felt wrong. Alexander had changed. Or perhaps Alexander hadn't changed. Perhaps Jennifer was finally seeing him for who he actually was. Alexander was controlling. Alexander told Jennifer what she should wear, what she should eat, who she should see. Alexander said things like, "That outfit makes you look desperate," or "That friend of yours doesn't understand you the way I do," or "You're not thinking clearly, let me decide." Alexander was manipulative. Alexander would bring up the dinner, the photos, the entire situation constantly. Alexander would say things like, "Remember when you chose David? Remember how wrong you were. Remember how I had to show you the truth." Alexander would use Jennifer's mistake against her as a way to keep her compliant. Alexander would say, "Well, don't get comfortable here either. Because you're probably wrong about this too." Alexander was emotionally abusive. Every time Jennifer tried to have an opinion, Alexander would contradict her. Every time Jennifer tried to make a decision, Alexander would undermine her. Every time Jennifer tried to express a feeling, Alexander would dismiss it. Jennifer realized, slowly and painfully, that Alexander didn't love her. Alexander loved the power that he had over her. Alexander loved the fact that he could make her second-guess herself. Alexander loved the fact that she had chosen him not out of genuine love, but out of fear of making another mistake. Alexander loved the fact that she was trapped in a cycle of her own making. 3 months into living with Alexander, Jennifer had a moment of clarity. Jennifer was lying in bed next to Alexander, unable to sleep, and she realized something that terrified her. She had made the same mistake twice. With David, she had chosen based on fear. Fear that Alexander was too dangerous, fear that she wasn't good enough for him, fear that she should choose the safe option. With Alexander, she had chosen based on fear. Fear that she had made a mistake with David, fear that Alexander was right, fear that she would regret not choosing him. Both choices had been driven by fear. Both choices had left her unhappy. Both choices had trapped her. Jennifer spent the next 3 months in a state of despair. Jennifer realized that she was in a relationship where she was constantly being reminded of her failures. Jennifer realized that she was in a relationship where she had no voice, no power, no agency. Jennifer started going to therapy. Jennifer's therapist helped her see that she had been making choices her entire life based on what other people wanted for her, or based on fear of making the wrong choice. Jennifer's therapist helped her understand that she needed to learn to make choices based on what she actually wanted. Jennifer's therapist asked her, "If you weren't afraid, if you weren't worried about making a mistake, what would you choose?" Jennifer thought about this question for a long time, and the answer was, "I would choose myself." After 6 months with Alexander, Jennifer made another choice. Jennifer made the hardest choice of all. She chose herself. Jennifer told Alexander that she was leaving. Jennifer didn't explain or justify or defend. Jennifer simply said, "I'm done. I'm done with you. I'm done choosing men based on fear. I'm done making my life about what other people want. I'm done." Alexander was furious. Alexander told her that she was making another mistake. Alexander told her that she would regret this decision. Alexander told her that no one else would want her, that she would be alone forever, that she would come crawling back to him. But Jennifer didn't believe him anymore. Jennifer had finally learned to recognize manipulation when she heard it. Jennifer moved out. Jennifer went to stay with a friend. Jennifer took time off work. Jennifer went to therapy multiple times a week. Jennifer spent a year alone, completely alone, not dating anyone, not trying to build a life with anyone. During that year, Jennifer did the hardest work of her life. Jennifer figured out who she actually was without a man in her life. Jennifer figured out what she actually wanted instead of what she thought she should want. Jennifer learned to recognize fear when it appeared. Jennifer learned to make decisions based on what she genuinely desired. 2 years after moving out of Alexander's apartment, Jennifer is now 34 years old. Jennifer is not married. Jennifer is not engaged. Jennifer is living her own life on her own terms. Jennifer still thinks about the choice she made, the choice to pick David over Alexander. Jennifer still has moments where she wonders what would have happened if she had chosen differently. Jennifer still occasionally feels a twinge of regret about how she handled the situation with David. But Jennifer also understands something that she didn't understand before, that the choice taught her something invaluable. Jennifer understands that sometimes the worst choice you can make is choosing based on fear. Jennifer understands that the consequences of choosing based on fear can be devastating. Jennifer has learned to recognize fear when it appears in her decision-making. Jennifer has learned to distinguish between genuine desire and fear-based choices. Jennifer has learned that making a choice based on genuine desire might feel uncomfortable, but it feels fundamentally different than making a choice based on fear. Jennifer is in a relationship now. The man's name is Marcus. Marcus is 40 years old. Marcus is a high school teacher. Marcus is not as exciting as Alexander and not as safe as David. Marcus is somewhere in the middle. He is real and authentic and genuinely loves Jennifer for who she is, not for who he wants her to be. But the important thing is that Jennifer chose Marcus for herself, not for anyone else. Jennifer didn't choose Marcus because she was afraid of making another mistake. Jennifer chose Marcus because she genuinely wanted to be with him. Jennifer chose Marcus because being with him felt right, not because it felt safe or exciting, but because it felt authentic. Jennifer and Marcus have a conversation about this early in their relationship. Jennifer tells Marcus about David and Alexander. Jennifer tells Marcus about the choices she made and how wrong they were. Jennifer tells Marcus that she needs him to understand that she is choosing him freely, and that if the time ever comes when she is no longer choosing him freely, she will leave. Marcus listens. Marcus says, "I don't want you to stay with me out of fear or obligation. I want you to stay with me because you genuinely want to. And if that ever changes, I want you to be brave enough to tell me." Jennifer cries when Marcus says this. Jennifer cries because she finally has someone in her life who understands that real love means giving the other person the freedom to choose, and choosing to stay anyway. David eventually married someone else. David married a woman named Sarah. Sarah is kind and patient and genuinely wants the same things that David wants. Sarah wants to be married. Sarah wants to have children. Sarah wants to build a traditional life with David. Sarah chose David not because she was afraid of making another choice, but because she genuinely wanted David. David is happy now. David has the life he always wanted. David and Sarah have 2 children together. David works as a software engineer and coaches Little League on weekends. David has a quiet, peaceful, predictable life, which is exactly what David wanted all along. David never heard from Jennifer again after the wedding cancellation. But Jennifer heard through a mutual friend that David was happy. Jennifer was grateful for this news. Jennifer was grateful that David had found someone who could give him what Jennifer could never give him. Alexander never married again. Alexander continued to use relationships as a way to exert power and control over women. Alexander had a series of short relationships with younger women who he would manipulate and eventually discard when they no longer served his purposes. Alexander became increasingly isolated and bitter. Alexander surrounded himself with people who feared him rather than loved him. Alexander eventually realized, too late, that his entire life had been built on manipulation and control, and that no one actually loved him. Alexander died alone, bitter and angry, the living embodiment of what happens when you spend your entire life using people instead of loving them. So here's what I want to ask you in the comment section, and I want you to really think about this because this is important. Have you ever made a choice and then spent months or years wondering if it was the right one? Have you ever been in a situation where you had to choose between two options and neither felt completely right? Have you ever felt the weight of a decision crushing you, knowing that whichever path you chose, you would regret the other? Have you ever had someone show you exactly what you gave up? Have you ever had someone use your own regret against you? Have you ever been manipulated by someone who claimed they were just trying to help you see the truth? Have you ever made a choice based on fear instead of on genuine desire? Have you ever chosen what you thought you should want instead of what you actually wanted? Have you ever realized, too late, that you had chosen for the wrong reasons? But more importantly, have you ever recovered from that choice? Have you ever found your way back to yourself after losing yourself to fear-based decisions? Have you ever learned to trust your own instincts again after they had led you astray? Rate this story from 0 to 10. Tell me if it resonated with you. Tell me if you've made choices that you regretted. Tell me if you've been manipulated by someone who claimed to have your best interests at heart. Tell me if you're currently in a situation where you're choosing based on fear. But most importantly, tell me this. What choice are you afraid of making? What choice are you avoiding? What choice would you make if you weren't afraid? What would your life look like if you chose based on genuine desire instead of fear? Because I want you to understand something fundamental, and I need you to really internalize this. Fear is the worst basis for making decisions. Fear will cause you to choose the safe option, the predictable option, the option that everyone else thinks you should choose. Fear will cause you to choose the exciting option, the dangerous option, the option that promises to fix all your problems. But neither of those choices is actually based on what you want. Your choice is yours alone. Your life is yours alone. Don't let someone else, whether it's a parent, a partner, society in general, or your own fear, make your choices for you. And don't let someone use your choices against you as a way to manipulate you. If someone in your life is constantly reminding you of your mistakes, constantly telling you that you're wrong, constantly using your past choices against you, that is not love. That is manipulation. That is control. And you deserve better. Real love doesn't need to remind you of your mistakes to keep you compliant. Real love trusts you to make your own choices. Real love celebrates your growth. Real love gives you the freedom to be yourself. Subscribe to this channel. Turn on notifications. Because there are so many stories like this one. Stories about people making choices based on fear. Stories about manipulation disguised as truth. Stories about learning to make choices for yourself. Stories about recovering from bad choices and building better lives. And if you're in Jennifer's original situation right now, if you're dating two people and you can't choose, if you're torn between safety and excitement, if you're afraid that whichever you choose will be the wrong choice, I want you to know, you need to make a choice. Straddling the fence is not a sustainable way to live. You are hurting both people, and you are hurting yourself. But when you make that choice, make it for you. Don't make it because you think it's what you should do. Don't make it because you're afraid of the other option. Make it because it's genuinely what you want. And if you're in Jennifer's later situation right now, if you're in a relationship where you're being constantly reminded of your mistakes, if you're with someone who uses your past against you, if you're with someone who tells you that you're wrong and that they alone understand you, I want you to know, that is not love. That is a trap. And you deserve better. You deserve to be with someone who loves you not because of who you were or who they want you to be, but because of who you are. You deserve to be with someone who celebrates your growth instead of reminding you of your failures. You deserve to be with someone who gives you the freedom to make your own choices and respects those choices even if they disagree with them. Most importantly, you deserve to be with yourself. You deserve to spend time alone figuring out who you actually are. You deserve to make choices based on genuine desire instead of fear. You deserve to build a life that is truly yours. The cost of making choices based on fear is enormous. The cost is your freedom, your authenticity, your peace. The cost is years of your life spent unhappy, confused, and manipulated. The cost is the person you could have been if you had been brave enough to choose for yourself. Don't pay that cost. Choose yourself. Choose authenticity. Choose genuine desire over fear. Choose freedom. I'll see you next time.